Hello, my name is Thea and I'm a training specialist at Tom Pitt. In today's video, I'm going to talk about inputs and outputs on operations. The goal of this lesson is to learn what are inputs and outputs, where to view and manage inputs and outputs on operations in the Tom Pitt system, and the importance of having an option of adding inputs and outputs on operations directly through the system. Inputs refer to the materials consumed during operations in the production process, while outputs represent the finished goods or byproducts produced. By specifying inputs and outputs for each operation, companies can maintain more precise stock records and better control material usage throughout the entire production process. Additionally, defining inputs and outputs enables detailed production traceability, which is crucial for quality control and process improvement. Sometimes adjustments need to be made during a particular operation, perhaps due to material quality issues, design changes, or unexpected requirements. Having the ability to directly adjust inputs and outputs on the operation offers flexibility and removes the trouble of defining the whole process from the beginning. For example, imagine a company that assembles wooden tables. The production process includes operations such as cutting, assembling, and finishing. Inputs like types of wood can be directly assigned to the wood cutting and sanding operation. If during wood cutting, workers notice a byproduct like wood shavings, they can simply add it as an additional output, making it available at the next execution of the operation. Managing these inputs and outputs on an operation ensures the stock levels are up to date with accurate tracking and traceability of the whole process. Now let's see how this works in Tom Pitt. To define or manage inputs and outputs on an operation, navigate to the production or maintenance domain, selecting Management, and lastly the Processes icon. The page displays all defined processes. Choose a process and the version on which you want to add the inputs and outputs to. You can do this by clicking on the Versions button below the process. A page with versions of the process opens, where you can choose on which you want to edit the operation details by clicking on the Operations button below the code. Once you have navigated to the Operations page, choose the operation on which you want to add or edit the inputs and outputs on. Each operation has 5 buttons below the code indicating the details that can be set for it. Click the Inputs button to open a new page. This page will list all the added inputs. In case the operation has no specified items, the page will be blank. In the left column, the name of the input and its code are displayed, along with its type in the middle and quantity on the right. To add a new input, select the blue Action button on the bottom right corner of the screen, which will give you the option to copy an existing input or create a new one. Select the New option, which will open a form for editing. First, select the type of material from the drop-down menu. You can choose from products, raw and wrapper materials, or semi-products. The material menu will now offer the options according to the type of material chosen above. Choose a material that will be the input for the operation, and lastly, select the quantity that will be considered for one final product. To finalize the input, select the Add button on the bottom of the form. To add an output to the operation, follow the same steps. Choose the Outputs button below the operation code, which will take you to the Outputs page. Select the Action button with the option for a new output on the bottom of the screen to open the editing form. From the drop-down menu, first select the type of material, next, choose the appropriate material from the list below, along with the quantity that will be produced. From the Output Type menu, select if the output will be a main or secondary product. The Outputs form also has an additional section for lost output material. This is in case you want the system to store materials classified as lost during production. Select the type and quantity of the item that you want to add back to stock if the main output is classified under loss. For instance, loss from a damaged cherry wood table could be cherry wood. This section is optional for the examples of lost materials that can be further used within the system. Don't forget to select the Add button at the bottom of the form to finalize the input. If you want to copy an already existing input or output, click on the Action button on the bottom of the screen, selecting the Copy Existing Inputs or Outputs option. This will open a form giving you the option to select the process, version, operation, and lastly the inputs or outputs desired for copying. Once all the data is selected, click the Copy button at the bottom of the form. You can edit inputs and outputs at any time by selecting the blue code and changing the information before selecting the Save button. And with that, we conclude today's lesson on inputs and outputs on operations. Let's summarize what we learned in this video. You now know what inputs and outputs are. You know where to find and manage inputs and outputs on operations in the Tompit system. And you know the importance of having an option to set inputs and outputs on operations directly through the system. I hope this video helped, and I will see you in the next lesson.